All right, so you're welcome back to New Day. We're coming to you live from the studios of TV3. First in news, best in entertainment. It's time for Plus 275. I told you earlier today, our radar is on the TafoSuame constituency. Just a bit about this constituency, if you don't know about it already. The TafoSuame seat was created prior to the Ghanaian parliamentary election in 2004, when the old TafoSuame constituency was split into the old Tafo and TafoSuame constituencies, respectively. The seat is located within the Kumasi Metropolitan District of the Ashanti region of Ghana, and Chairman Sabonsu has been Member of Parliament for Old TafoSuame since 1996 and is contesting the seat again. Indeed, he had on some occasions contested the seat unopposed in the past, but now, you know, he's been faced by some stiff opposition. So, well, you know how we do it. We introduce our gentleman to you. I have Mr. Yao Broja-Jemfi. He is looking to unseat the incumbent MP, and he's running on the ticket of the NDC. I also have here Honorable Chairman Sabonsu. You all know, minority leader in Parliament. Of course, he's looking to take the seat again. So, gentlemen, you're welcome to Plus 275. And, you know, I would like to say that this is a battle of intelligent ideas. You're here to set an example that it's okay to disagree over ideologies and policies, but you can do that with, you know, some decorum, exercising some decorum. So this is where you know, get a friendly, you know, and warm handshake from each other, just so we show civility. He's your nephew. I see. That's awesome. All right, so you're welcome again, and the rules of this debate are very simple. I throw a question at you. I give you some time, perhaps 3 or 4 minutes to answer this. Otherwise, if you want to rebut, if you want to have an opportunity for a rebuttal, I will give you that opportunity. It's as simple as that. All right. So my very first question to you, sir, and I'm sure you saw this coming. There've been clarion calls, you know, made to you to step down, as it were. I mean, people acknowledge the good work you've done in the constituency since 1996. But, well, you're looking to take the seat again. Perhaps I will come to you later on that one. But how do you feel, sir, Mr. Jemfi, about this? He has been in Parliament since 1996, and, well, he looks to take the seat again. What's your opinion? What's your view on that?
Well, good morning to your viewers and the people watching us from TafoSuame constituency. We have known 2 members of Parliament since we started this 4th Republican Constitution. We have known a Member of Parliament on the ticket of the NDC in 1992 because there was no competitive parliamentary elections. And since 96, Honorable Chairman Sabonsu is the only Member of Parliament we have grown to know. And so the feeling of the people is that we have not had enough from him for the 20 years that he has represented us in Parliament. And so you could have a feeling in the constituency that there's going to be a change in the parliamentary election.
Before we delve into the feeling of the people, Honorable, this is for you, sir. Well, I look at the results over, you know, the past few years, over, you know, during elections, and you seem to have done pretty well. I use the word seem because I can't, you know, speak absolutely. I can't speak, you know, based on absolute terms, considering Mr. Jemfi is also here. But said, do you not also think that regardless of the feats and achievements you've chalked, it's time to step down and open up for, you know, some, fresh ideas, new ideas?
Thank you for having me, and thank you for bringing my own nephew to this platform. First of all, let me just correct the impression. I've not been in Parliament since 1996. I've been in Parliament since 1997. And the first member who represented TafoSuame constituency, then old TafoSuame, represented the constituency in 1993 and not 1992. Elections were held in 1992, but he got to represent the constituency in 1993. You're asking whether I don't think that I should be bowing out. I think it sends us to the very functions of a member of parliament. And I think I got the inkling from my own nephew that the people don't seem to see much. You see, people seem to get it wrong. When people say they don't see much, they are really relating to development of the constituency, which really is not the core mandate of Member of Parliament. And so people get it wrong. And that is why people, before they come in, and I guess my own nephew is even on that path. Oh, they haven't seen much, let me have the opportunity, I'll bring development. And people should get it right, that development should be done by central government. At the local level, it is the district assembly and not the Member of Parliament.
What is the core mandate of the
core mandate of the Member of Parliament is representational, to represent the people, carry their own concerns, their aspirations to the doorstep of central government. The second is, in Parliament, as a parliamentarian, you have what is called the power of pairs function, which is what we exercise during the approval process of the budget of government. When you have given the allocations to government, the various ministries, departments, and agencies to spend, what is required of Member of Parliament is to go back and do what is called exercise what is called the oversight function, right? In other words, to make sure that the allocated amounts have been applied on projects and programs, and if they have been applied on projects and programs, whether as a nation you have value for money. So that is the oversight responsibility of a Member of Parliament. Then, arguably, the other function, perhaps the most significant, is the law-making function of Parliament, the legislative function of Parliament, right? So if my nephew is saying that people have seen enough, have had enough of Chairman Sabonsu, and that they are crying for new ideas, it's just placing these things on balance. Is the person coming positioned to be able to maybe outshine Chairman Sabonsu in these areas of endeavor, in these areas of the functions of the core functions of Members of Parliament? Of course, there are others that maybe are tangential to the functions of Member of Parliament these days, and increasingly you have pressures on Members of Parliament. People come with personal concerns, and if you think you are able, maybe you are able to satisfy a couple of them, not all, because you certainly will not be able to satisfy everybody. Then, of course, also, because you represent the concerns of the people, you bring their concerns to central government. You do what is called lobbying to see whether government will be able to satisfy these concerns. If government tells you that, well, we've heard you, but this is not part of our priority this year or next year. Can you wait a bit? There's nothing that as an individual you can do. There's almost nothing that as an individual you can do. So there's a limit to this. And you see, it's not for nothing that in the entrenched democracies for Parliament, there are no term limits. In Parliament, the longer you stay, as you qualify it, because not everybody who stays longest who is able to
make an impact, then much
make
of an
an impact in Parliament. But generally, or should I say the general rule in Parliament is that the longer you stay, the better you become. In the fields of legislation, in the fields of oversight, exercising the power of pairs function, and even in the representational function of the Member of Parliament. These are the core mandates of the Member of Parliament. And if Chairman Sabonsu is not performing there, then of course that may be a different ball game. And in terms of even lobbying for some projects, I think
because it is expected that as incumbent MP, you should wield some lobbying powers.
Absolutely. Yeah. And of course, even using the position as a minority leader, certain things which ordinarily would not accrue to you would sometimes come your way. So I guess in those areas, Osei Chairman Sabonsu hasn't done badly at all.
So, but to you, Mr. Jamefi, indeed, I'm looking at the results, you know, of the elections we had in the past years, and it would seem as though I have to question this feeling you think you're getting from people, you know, in the constituency, you know, as to whether, you know, or not they want a change, because Honorable Chairman Sabonsu seems to have done pretty well, you know, in the past election. So, on what do you base your, you know, your statement earlier that you're getting a feeling from the people? You seem to perceive a feeling from the people that they want a change and they don't want Honorable Chairman Sabonsu anymore.
Well, before that, since our Member of Parliament believes in accuracy, and to the extent that he had to correct me that he was not elected, or he didn't become a Member of Parliament from 96.
Rather in 97?
Exactly. I need to also correct him that I'm not his nephew. He's my Member of Parliament. Maybe people will take it that we are related in some way. We are not. He's my Member of Parliament. If you look at the results, you would be deceived that people do not want a change. But Honorable Osei Chairman Sabonsu stands on the ticket of a political party that is very strong in our constituency. And if you want to look at his performance in terms of electoral performance, you need to compare that with his presidential candidate. And that should tell you that there are a lot more people who even belong to his party who do not
that's the comparison you can make. You say this authoritatively.
That is what, if you look at the last result, Nana Akufo-Addo is the presidential candidate of the NPP, got as much as 3,000 votes more than him. So it should give you a certain impression. But I believe that we are all starting from zero. And in terms of the ideas that we put across, in terms of deliveries, our campaign, that would indicate who is going to win. And I am very confident of winning. But to react to what he said about the core mandate of a Member of Parliament and all that, I believe that his explanation is the easiest way for any Member of Parliament to run away from his responsibilities. Because you know that we have created funds even to support members of Parliament, even though they are not supposed to be agents of development, as he puts it. But some funds are created, educational fund from the GET fund, they have their common fund, they have social protection fund, the health insurance fund, and all that. It is with the view that the Member of Parliament would have some other responsibilities, that people will be looking up to the Member of Parliament to do certain things, to champion their agenda. That is why all these funds are created to support the Member of Parliament. I strongly believe that he's been a Member of Parliament representing us in Parliament, just in Parliament articulating his views and all that. But if he's not in Parliament today, Ghana's Parliament will not cease, will continue to legislate. And so he must get the impression of the people that he needs to deliver. But he's taking the constituency for granted because of the strength of his party. Because if your presidential candidate can get as much as 3,000 votes more than you, and you still go to Parliament, in certain constituencies you will never go to Parliament, and you still can go to Parliament, then you get that impression that because of the strength of your party, you would always go back to Parliament. And that is the main reason why the people are calling for change in this election.
Will it be fair, sir, if I also leveled a question at you and said that, well, considering, you know, the bit I read about you, during the primaries, you also faced some stiff opposition. In fact, you didn't have a hands-down win. Correct me if I'm wrong. One, Mr. Dodori polled some 626 votes as against your 680-something votes. That's not a hands-down win. Is that also, if you can level such, and yeah, if you can make such a statement, that's also to say that you don't also necessarily have, you know, that much of a backing of the support from your party. Am I fair to say that?
No, you will not be fair.
Okay.
That can only be tested in the general election. If you compare my performance to that of my presidential candidate.
But your party also must choose you first before you even get that opportunity.
Of course, there are internal contests. He had the stiffest contest recently because since he went to, in 1996, he contested with my uncle and he won.
Oh, so there is some relationship after all.
No blood relationship. and then since after the 96 election, he's never gone for primaries until 2016 when he again contested with my uncle, with my father's junior brother. And so he also had some stiff competition in his party. But that is not what I am saying. What I am saying is that the base of every political party is determined by the performance of the presidential candidate. And so if your presidential candidate is performing much more than you in terms of electoral vote, then it should tell you that there is a problem. But what I am saying is that it is not only on the basis of that. I am articulating some ideas that I believe will support the constituency.
All right.
Something that maybe you did not mention, our constituency has the biggest industrial hub in West
is the
Africa.
TafoSuame magazine. I will tackle that a bit later.
There are a lot of things that we need to do to support the people.
Yes.
And that is why I am stepping in.
All right. Okay, so I move to the key issues now, and the very first on my list, in fact, of concerns would be education. I recall seeing a report carried on a station indicating that there's some inadequate infrastructure coupled with this deteriorating classroom block that's hampering enrollment in the TafoSuame Diadem junior high school in the Shanti region. That's his former school. Honorable, you've been there for 20 years. To what how do you explain this? To what do you attribute this development?
I think first of all, it's important to make this statement.
Yeah.
That when I say that he's my nephew, it was not said in with any derogatory connotations.
Honorable, in all fairness, I doubt this is how it was deemed or perceived
because he was
or
quick
understood.
to show that, well,
I totally doubt it was perceived as derogatory.
You wanted to.
But let's allow Honorable to. Let's allow Honorable. I'll allow you to speak. Not now, Mr. Jimfi. Honorable, please go ahead.
You see, that's why I'm saying to you that he conjured it and made it appear as if I had said so with derogatory connotations. There are no derogatory connotations. The grandfather always spoke about me that I was his son. So even the first contest that he refers to, which happened in 1996, the grandfather said to the two of us that the two of us are his sons. Those days, we had to prepare some food for our delegates. So the grandfather said, no, he will not allow me to pay a cent. He will provide for the feeding of the delegates because the two of us are his sons. That's where I take my cue from. Okay. So, and that's why
Understood.
I said that it's an nephew. It had nothing to do with them.
Understood.
But the issue that he says about the performance of the presidential candidate, that there was a gap of about 3,000. So that tells that you are not performing. What was the record in his own party? The performance of the presidential candidate against the parliamentary candidate. The president had many more votes than the parliamentary candidate. Not only in 2012, go down to up to 1996 when I started contesting. The presidential candidates have always had much more votes than the parliamentary. So if that is a charge, it affects his own party as well. But the truth of it is that there was somebody an NDC guy, the last time around, who pretended to be an MPP person and came to say that he was contesting as an independent. Wherever he went,
Sir, do you speak authoritatively on this issue?
Authoritatively.
Considering that person is not here to refute your allegations.
I speak authoritatively, and that person was called what is the name? It was
on what do you base this allegation, sir?
No. I'm speaking. I will not make anything up for anything. He was called Osei Bempa. Later on, he came to me after the event. He came to me to apologize. He is the nephew of our own former member of parliament and minister, Dr. Kunadu Apreku. Right? He contested. And wherever he went, he said he was MPP and that people should vote for him and not vote for me. He garnered about 3,000 votes. Right? That explains why he's talking about the 3,000 gap that the presidential candidate had, much more than I had. That's a truism. The president.
I would rather we didn't go off that tangent.
No, it's important to explain.
That is
it's important. It's important to explain because the presidential candidate had over 63,000, and I had close to 61,000. That is 3,000 difference. That is talking about. And I think any person there knows that that indeed was the cause. Go back to 2000 and 2004. You would see the difference. Always the presidential candidates in the strongholds of political parties would have much more than the parliamentary candidate. In your weak areas, you would very much depend on the strength and character of the person who is contesting on the ticket of the party. So, for instance, in the Volta region, you may have several contestants who may be able to pull much more votes than your presidential candidate. Equally so for Ashanti region. If you have a very strong person, the person may be able to pull much more votes than the presidential candidate of the NDC.
I think people vote skirt and blouse all the time.
Please, don't put much emphasis in this.
Yes, I would rather not put much emphasis on that. In fact, that's why I want to go up. Yes.
Do the analysis.
Please allow.
I guess we've been told to be very much stable.
Yes,
about
this. I'd rather.
I didn't budge in.
I'm sorry, Uncle.
Yes.
Now he's gone back to acknowledge that. So that is it. Now he talks about some development.
Yes.
That, and he was relating to some funds that we have. The common fund, the common fund is given to you because you see you are the face of governance in the constituency. You are the person that has been universally voted for. So the people know you much more than they do know the district chief executive. Even though, as far as development is concerned, it is the DCE, or indeed, I shouldn't say the DCE, the assembly, that should be doing that. But people know your face much more than the assembly members and indeed the DCE because you cut across all the unit areas.
I think that's quite arguable because it depends on how often, a member of parliament touches base with his constituents. I think that is really arguable, sir.
It is not. Because in the general election, the member of parliament is voted for by the entire constituency. Not so for the district chief executive. The unit committee member is also elected, but in his small enclave, the assemblyman for the electoral area. But the MP cuts across all the unit areas, all the electoral areas within the constituency. That's why I'm saying that he is the imprint, he is the face in the constituency that people know.
Understood.
Right. And so they relate to you as far as development is concerned much more than they will relate to the DCE. If the roof of a school is ripped off, it's the DC, is the MP that they will talk about. And even if the collection, if it has to do with the collection of garbage, refuse, the assembly is responsible. How many times have you heard people talk about, hey, na haye ni MP wa ha, ani me ye bola? How many times haven't you heard when a road is in a deplorable situation where people will not relate to the assembly or to the ministry of roads, that's urban roads or feeder roads, but to the member of parliament.
In a minute, I will give.
But to the member of parliament, you see, because as I said, you are the face there. But I was just saying that the common fund is a fund for the members of parliament. Occasionally, you hear people saying that it should even be scrapped. But the point is, it is to shore the MP up in these minor areas. Like as I said, the roof of a school building is ripped up in a rainstorm. Maybe there may have to be some grading in the area. Together with the assembly members, maybe a bulldozer or a roller will be procured to do that. Sometimes it's about the procurement of electric bulbs to lighting some place. And together with the assembly members, when the assembly is not able to do that, or maybe to complement the effort of the assembly, you link up the assembly members to do these things. So that is what the amount is supposed to do.
Okay, we still haven't touched on the particular example I gave about the Adadiem school, but
well,
because in all fairness,
it's important. It's important that I talk about that.
Okay, perhaps you can tie that in, and then I'll give you the chance.
That one, fortunately,
he's not playing by the rules.
That one, fortunately,
because he said
I'll let him now. I will give you an opportunity to have a rebuttal.
I'm not too sure that he wants to turn the moderator here.
No, he gave us rules, ground rules.
Yes, there are. I still moderate. Let me just allow him.
It is not for you.
It is important I draw her attention.
Could you? Yes, Mr. Thank you. I appreciate that, Mr. Jamefi. Sir, if you could wrap up.
Can you keep him in order?
If you could quickly wrap up. Because you are taking a lot of time.
I listened to him, but he
said so how about you touch on, yes, so perhaps we should do this. How about you touch on the particular example I gave about the Adadiem
school? Yes. We have since 2 years ago secured funding through through Get Fund for the one is for the rehabilitation, the main story building, for the rehabilitation of that story, the 2-story facility, and we have also secured another one for the construction of a 6-unit classroom block to feed the JHS.
When was this secured, and how long will the rehabilitation take? 2 years ago.
2 years ago. The problem is the new one. You see, the artisans, the mechanics, they are squatting on what used to be the football playing field.
Yes, I did see that.
Right.
Yes.
And we've gone to negotiate with them, and they are telling us. In fact, the last time we were there, that's about I think February. They told us to give them 2 years, and I said that is not possible. Of course, that's where they recognize that they are squatters, but they are telling us. The assemblyman was there. We had the meeting with them on the 2 occasions that we've had. In fact, there was a former assemblyman who transitioned.
Yeah.
He was called Cosmos Nkrumah. He's the one that I started with this with 2 years back. We had a series of meetings with them. They pleaded with us to allow them some time to move the vehicles, because some of the vehicles have been there for about 5-10 years. So the conclusion,
John, then is until then we're not going to see these squatters move. There's absolutely nothing you can do about it as MP. Is that it?
I have secured the funding. The funding is with the Assembly.
Thank you.
And I went in to team up with the Assembly member to negotiate for the mechanics to leave for construction to start in earnest. That's all that I've done.
Thank you.
But the money has been secured from Get Fund for the past 2 years.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. I saw you shaking your head vehemently. I suppose you want to address a few issues you raised, but let's center that on education.
Well, I think that on the specific issue about that,
yes.
MA, primary and JHS, if a member of parliament, by his own words, say that we have secured funding
2 years ago.
2 years ago, and we still have that building there without students occupying the classrooms, because the roofing has been ripped off, and when it rains, it is only one classroom that is available on that floor. When it rains, it is very pathetic. Don't you think that it is fair for the mechanics to also demand 2 years before they leave? Where the mechanics are situated has nothing to do with the rehabilitation of that building. What will
you do about this? Should you be voted, into power to represent the constituency?
It is very simple. We need to re-roof that building. And I think that the MP's Common Fund, if not even the MP's Common Fund, the Get Fund that is allocated to MPs would be enough, even a quarter allocation of that fund would be able to re-roof that building or to even rehabilitate it.
Oh, so you've done a fair assessment of this.
Exactly. And so you speak authoritatively. Your cameramen, they have been there. I saw the pictures and all that. And so,
because in all fairness, funding may not always be readily available.
We need to separate the issues. There is an issue about he wanting to construct a 6-unit classroom block. That is very different from the building that we are talking about.
Why do you tie this in with the Adadiem Junior High School?
It is the same school. And so the people, in fact, I have interacted with the mechanics, and they do not understand why our member of parliament is interested in constructing a 6-unit classroom block and leaving a building that more than 6 classrooms have been abandoned because of simple roofing. And so it is important that we put the issues in its proper perspective. Well, what will I do to support education in the constituency? I think that it is very, very important.
I would like to hear your answer on that.
Well, from now, I have started doing certain things to indicate my commitment.
Indeed, I read about your disbursement of mathematical sets and learning equipment.
Yes, not that alone.
That's commendable.
Well, yes, some people may laugh at it.
Yeah.
I have also proposed to support 20 students who 20 deserving students who would come out from this BEC.
So then may I ask?
Not that alone. If you look at the schools, private schools, public schools, and all that in the constituency, we have a good number of schools in the constituency. Most of these students get out of the BEC or from the JHS, and they have to enter the Suame magazine, because most of them think that if they don't pass their examination, there's an opportunity for them to become artisans and all that. So we need to take
Is that entirely wrong in itself, in and of itself?
No, no, but you need the basic education in life. And so for you to even truncate your educational life, I believe that you need to have secondary school education. And so what I intend to do is to support them with educational fund. I want to create the Suame Educational Fund to support needy but brilliant students, which would also be accountable to the people. Apart from that, I went to almost every school in the constituency during their revision for the BEC examination. And I had an interaction, personal interaction. All this
year?
This year.
All this year?
Yes, a personal interaction with the students. And if you see how they respond to it, you would realize that it will drive them to write and pass well. Yeah. And so as a result of that, I intend to institute what I call the MP's mock examination, which would be for all basic schools in the constituency prior to their examination, in order to enhance their performance in the BEC.
Thank you.
There are several others that I have started doing, securing. Even with the Adadim school, I have secured some dual desk for the school, and I'll be doing
Thank you. But Mr. Jamefi, of course, your intentions are noble and honorable. I think it's admirable. However, you seem to have done all of these only this year, in the run-up to the elections. I think that your constituents are discerning enough. Even I get the feeling, even I perceive that you're only doing this in this year because you want to amass votes. How is it that you didn't do this in the past years? How is it that it's only in this year, when we were just close to elections, that you go around this and free mathematical sets and other learning instruments?
Well, let me say that I am from the constituency. I grew up, attended school, everything in the constituency. My family, as he indicated, is simply the constituency. So if even I grow to give back to the society, I'm sure there's nothing wrong with it. No,
it's admirable, like I said.
Even if it is for the purpose of getting votes from the people, I think there's nothing wrong with that, because there are several members of parliament who have been using their get fund to do these things to support the students. And so if a member of parliament has never done that in 20 years, and a young man who is willing to represent the people comes up to do that, I think it is commendable. Apart from that, if you go on the ground, if you visit school by school, and you realize the impact that mathematical set, that laughable mathematical set, has given to the students,
it's not laughable.
It will.
I correct that. It's not laughable. I have to.
But you see, these are mathematical instruments, and They are very important.
Yeah, next there was the TafoSuame car that was assembled and built, you know, right there in the magazine, the TafoSuame magazine. How is it that investors, Honorable, this is to you, how is it that we haven't, well, perhaps it's not fair to ask that, have you attracted investors? Have you done something, you know, have you lobbied to attract investors, you know, to rope them in, you know, just so that we can boost such? This is also quite commendable.
Well, thanks. I guess it's important to set some records straight, please. It's very
Unfortunately for the both of you, I have only 5 minutes.
Right. First of all,
so you have a minute.
The distinction was made about the 6-unit classroom block that is to be built at the DDM, for which GET fund has been secured, and the old structure. Again, that one has been done, and the contract has even been awarded. It is just about the release of funds, and the money, the KMA will tell you.
Thank you.
The other one relates to, you know, scholarship. I started scholarship scheme at Bremang with my own pocket money in the year 1998.
Is the scheme still running?
It is not my own personal money anymore, because that one was for the elementary schools, the basic schools.
How many students have been beneficiaries of the scheme?
Those days it was over 100. Over 100 those days. It was through the primary school people. But when Kufuor's administration introduced the capitation grant and the feeding grant, we stopped and then relocated it to the secondary school level. And then I applied my common fund to do that.
But you can't readily give us figures
today, so I'm making a distinction between those of them and now. Every year, in fact this year, the number is 48. And every year, consistently since 2001, we have been doing that.
Okay.
Then I guess I saw something here that you seem to still be describing the constituency as Old TafoSuame. It's no longer Old TafoSuame.
Oh, on the screen?
On the screen. And that you said I had 47,000 votes in 1996. No. That was 2008, and the NDC had...
Thank you, we appreciate the correction.
Right.
If you could move on to...
Then, dual-desk and schools built. I'm not too sure that anybody has built...
I know, but we don't have much time.
At least, it's important to let people know this, because of insinuations. I'm not too sure that anybody has had allocation from common fund to build schools in Kumasi Metropolis than I have done in Suame. Over 32 schools that I've built using common fund. And the facts and figures are there.
So I would like to leave the sector of education and move to Suame.
And then the magazine.
Yes.
You asked what investments that have attracted them.
Yes.
You see, Suame magazine is like Kumasi Market. It's a light industrial hub, even though it's located within the Suame and Tafo constituencies, basically. In fact, now there's even a sprawl to Kwabri West, right? It is a national issue, and not one for Suame MP.
Okay, but the MP has lobbying powers.
Yes.
Yes, and I said that premised on the TafoSuame car, which I was excited about.
Yes, which is what I did when I first entered Parliament. In 1998, 97, 98, I was a person who lobbied for the roads at Suame magazine to be tarred and electricity to be provided. I'm talking about street lights at the place to be done. That is what you can do. We're looking at pushing for the establishment of a fire tender at the place, and even now, a clinic and a police station.
I have to.
But